I've been meeting for a little while on my phone.
Okay, while people are joining us, can everyone just go ahead and type in your name and title and organization in the chat?
Join the meeting.
Okay, Councilmember Tanaka, we can probably get started.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. We got a great looking group here, and we have some really good information that we want to make sure we get. So we're going to welcome everybody to our first meeting of 2024. Happy New Year. And we're going to receive and file November's meeting notes. And we're going to go ahead and start with the SPA 8 service provider updates. So I believe we have Courtney and Anna.
Yeah, actually, Haley will be
Hi,
Haley.
Okay.
They are all on extended vacation until the 8th,
Okay.
so you're stuck with me.
We love it.
So Happy New Year, everybody. You can go to the next. Just a little bit of an overview. Here's part of our team. As y'all know, we've been doing some intensive outreach and street case management, making sure that everyone can get to the proper resources that are available. Go ahead. We look at Sherry in this picture. We love our oh, and Ivan. We love our success stories. As you know, it's the best part of our job. And so we often get a lot of different referrals. Ivan's office, well, Janice Hahn's office, sorry, often refers really difficult cases that aren't able to go through the system properly because of some issue or the next. And so in this case, we were actually able to get into a permanent supportive housing site, very rare. So they were matched. As you can see, there was a lot of different people working together, including the supervisor's office and Harbor Interfaith. And James is happy and inside.
Hey, Haley, just wanted to add quickly. So James came to us through because of the hurricane. I don't know if you guys remember, but in August we had a hurricane that kind of got downgraded to tropical storm roll-by in August. And Kelly, the lady on the left, who works in Han's office, called us asking if we could help put him in a motel to get out of the storm. And so we did that. And then subsequently we connected him to Path and then he was housed very shortly because of this. Prior to that, he had been homeless for multiple years. So it shows that it can all happen really fast if the right people are involved. And the COG was able to get this person into a motel to shelter them. We do that from time to time just to get people out of the storms, to supplement the winter shelter program. In this case, it was in August, so there wasn't a winter shelter, although they had storm shelters. So it was a very successful placement from shelter to housing.
Yeah, I just really want to Venice Family Clinics partnership. We have been outreaching with them, as well as they are helping at our Pathway home site in Hawthorne. And it's just been instrumental in not only, of course, linking the participants to what they need, but as you can see, there's verification of disability forms that are imperative to step. And they're also really great at educating staff on what needs to happen with certain medical conditions in order for healing and for success, and a little bit of medication education. And so Venice Family Clinic has just been a phenomenal partner. The next success story, as you can see, they were matched with a voucher, which few and far between, and we're so excited when we get these vouchers. And it's also difficult to find landlords. Where the pool is getting smaller and smaller. I think that we are just kind of saturating the system. But we were able to find a landlord that was able to work with us, as you can see. And the approval times can sometimes take, sometimes there's, they have to go in and approve the unit. But again, just like Ronson was saying, when everybody's working together, then it can actually happen in a timely manner, and CC got to go into her unit.
Oh, see, you know what?
And here is just a bunch of pictures, some connect days, as also you can see our great work with LASA. We're really proud of the work. We were also really excited and privileged to be invited to the workshop from the city of Gardena. So a special thank you for that. One of our values is creative collaboration, and we can't do this alone. And so we always appreciate when it's time to work together. So here is our LA HOP. We want to do another big push for LA HOP. So thank you to the city of Carson and Torrance with the record amounts of LA HOPs. And again, the outside referrals are usually from our supervisors' offices, usually quite complex cases. So we appreciate the cities that were able to put in, and the community members and the business members put in those LA HOPs. And here you go, our total assisted, and the last of our assisted. So past contract is going to end on the 31st. And so January will be our last month of outreach. And as you can see, we break it down by the supervisory district, permanent housing, total outreach interactions. And as always, we're so pleased that we're able to run and include the Pathway homes with our county initiative. So again, just a reminder, this is our last month on the streets. So when you put in those LA HOPs for the month of January, it will be our team, but we are sunsetting. And so the staff will be moving on to different programs, and LASA most likely will be your point of contact for February 1st.
Yeah, just to note for everyone, the COG is working on some potential new providers to come online, probably likely in March, and we're already working with Supervisor Mitchell on this. So stay tuned, yeah, we look forward to continuing this program just in a different fashion for 2024.
And here are some of our referrals. As you can see, referrals are always higher than those obtained, because getting to and from the actual provider. Somebody might say yes on one day, and then when the transportation comes, might back out. One of the things that I always like to note is primary care. It's just really important to get our participants medical care, because that's where a lot of opportunities can open up for them to heal on the streets. And as you can see, the 2 substance use actually obtained in SD4. And so that's remarkable. It rarely happens. As you can see, we do divide it between supervisory district, but it is the same team that works throughout with the same resources. And again, I think you'll have seen these challenges time and time again. There's low availability for shelter and interim housing, as well as low desire. And if you do get matched to a housing subsidy, it's been hard to find affordable housing for those of our seniors, which we've been talking about this for years, that with their fixed income and rent rising, they are a population that we are really worried about, because it's difficult to find them new places if they're already in one because they can't afford it, or if they've lost their housing altogether, finding a new affordable place. With the increase of subsidies and vouchers, we are finding that landlords need more and more education around all of the subsidies. There's a lot of us out there attempting to educate, but I think what we were talking about recently is going back to the days where we would have some landlord events with group education, so they're all learning at the same time. And this is something that I know that we've said before. There's low availability for ADA accessible units. We do have multiple agencies and teams looking for them, but as soon as we get them, they're rented up. And so that's just one of the challenges that we've seen this quarter. And there we are. You can still contact us. We are still happy to help your cities and to link as much as we can. And we will be 100% helping with outreach until the 31st. And we've been working with multiple teams to transfer. So anybody that might be in case management, we will be keeping them. We're not just going to close them out, and we'll be keeping them until we can link or get them housed. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley. Any questions for Haley? Here's your chance.
Hi. Hi, Haley. My name is Gloria Johnson. I am a advocate, and I also serve on the advisory board at LASA and Union Station. You say in your organization, I didn't get a chance to hear more about that. I do reside in Hawthorne, and but I used to reside in Spot 6 for 11 years. The issue I always say about messaging is always saying affordable, because affordable has so many different meanings. And like, for instance, I live in quote unquote affordable housing, but affordable housing is 60% of your income, and the rent goes up every year, $100 or so more dollars. So of course, a senior person first moving there, it would be affordable at first, and then all of a sudden it changes and it rises so quickly and so fast. So I think that is very important to not so much use the word affordable, because, you know, like I said, affordable housing is usually sometimes what they surround tax credit buildings, and those are not usually affordable or whatnot. Affordable units, you know, are usually what we consider to be about 30-40% of your income, which is more feasible, versus 60% of your income or 50% of your income, which if they do 50% of their income, the building might only have like 2 units that are 50%, and the rest of the units are all going to be 60%. So I just think that, you know, we have to, you know, change the state of mind of what affordability looks like when we're looking at housing or whatnot, so people understand really what affordability is and whatnot. Thank you.
You. Any questions? Anybody? I don't see any hands, so I think we'll just go ahead. Thanks, Haley. We appreciate that. We'll move on to the outreach grid and the new technology app platform being used by North Orange County. So, Ronson, I'll let you do the introductions for North Orange County.
Thanks, Councilmember Tanaka. Yeah, we came across Outreach Grid through our partnership with the City of Torrance. Viet and Zoma kind of made me aware of this, and we thought we'd bring them on to kind of chat about it. We have Tiffany Payne, the CEO of Outreach Grid. And Tiffany, you want to take it away to kind of teach us about what you all are doing and how you are influencing homelessness in Orange County?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ronson. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Tiffany Pang, Tiffany Pang Kadenko. I recently got married. And I'm also joined with Sue Kang, who is the executive director of the North Orange County Public Safety Collaborative. And actually, Sue, I'm looking for you in the thing. Sue, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, everyone, for inviting the North Orange County Public Safety Collaborative and also the presentation of Outreach Grid. My name is Sue Kang, and I work for the city of Brea, but as the executive director of the North Orange County Public Safety Collaborative. And also joining with us is the district director and field representative for Senator Josh Newman, who is our state senator for this current district until it gets redistricted at the end of this calendar year. So we have Nathan Bass and Scott Doe also in this, I'll call it our room, in this room here. But thank you for allowing us to speak a little bit about what we do here in North Orange County. It was back in 2017 when Senator Newman was newly elected for our North Orange County cities. And he had gathered all of our public safety experts, who are the police chiefs of 12 North Orange County cities, and asked what are their main concerns. I happened to be in the room, and 3 issues came up. One was youth violence prevention intervention, homeless outreach, and reentry services. And from there, Senator Newman has been a champion for our cities and was able to fund and create this North Orange County Public Safety Collaborative with $20 million for the next 4 years. And really 60% of those funds go to our community-based organizations that do the work in those 3 focus areas. And then we also, as a collaborative, putting it together, organizing ourselves, committing to measurements. So we contracted with Cal State Fullerton and the Social Science Research Center to evaluate us as an independent evaluator to see our progress, to measure our outcomes. And really what has kind of come out and really focusing in on the homeless outreach focus area is this technology tool. So you have both some measurable results of the collaborative for the first 4 years through Social Science Research Center. And one of the first things we did with the funds through SSRC was a homeless census. Of course, we had the point in time in January 2017, and in our region of North Orange County, there were 935 for those 2 nights in January. We did a homeless census, a by name registry, the following year in the spring for a month long, 4 weeks, 3 times a day. And it was led by law enforcement, because it was law enforcement that knows and patrols our streets. So they have local expertise, they have local access and public safety. And so there was a caravan, patrol officers led the caravan of census takers and volunteers. We counted 1,835 individuals. From the 1,835, 1,324 individuals gave us their unique identifiers, date of birth, social securities, if they could remember it, and of course their names. And from there, we searched out a technology tool, because Google Doc, OneNote just doesn't cut it. And we vetted 3 different software companies, and Outreach Grid came as something that seemed promising. Not fully developed, but promising. And really their motto at the time, and still is probably, is working alongside those who are working in this realm. And the realm that we're working on is really managing homelessness. And so the first thing we would like to do, our success is this, that the first responders going out and doing outreach and engagement on our streets is not the police. It is outreach workers. And so one of the things that happened after the first 4 years was this idea of working together. It hadn't been done in a much more focused and coordinated way. And it has come to an outcome, a tangible outcome, which is called the Hope Center. The Hope Center is, we created a nonprofit, and from there, regional outreach workers serving all 12 cities with this technology tool and really working on street homelessness and engaging those folks who are experiencing street homelessness through the app. And what this app does, I'm not going to tell you, and I couldn't tell you. Tiffany would be better at it. And so I'm going to stop here and have Tiffany then make this presentation about the Outreach Grid platform that we utilize here in North Orange County.
Thank you, Sue. And thank you for that really great intro. Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany Pang-Cadango. I am the co-founder and CEO of Outreach Grid, and we have a lot of things to talk about for Outreach Grid, what it is, some of its features. Normally, this presentation is about an hour long, so I'm trying to, I'll for the sake of time and your guys' meeting, I'll try to present it very succinctly. But I do want to highlight some of the main things, which is the shelter bed reservation system and also dispatch services. So I'll try to highlight those as we get there. So Outreach Grid is a data platform for a community, for a group of cities, for a county, to collaborate on homelessness information from first contact to housing. We're available on mobile web and also on iOS. So you can use this on your Apple phones and leverage all the good things that come from an Apple phone. Outreach Grid has tools for the first contact that you have with someone experiencing homelessness all the way through to when they get into supportive housing. We have tools for outreach, the first contact, and then when they get into a more stable living situation, like in an emergency shelter, and then when they get in contact with a housing navigator and a case manager to start working with them to get into some form of supportive housing, we have tools to capture that data from first contact to housing. And what's unique about Outreach Grid, like Sue mentioned, we are one platform in one language. So she mentioned, she did the census. We had, 1,300 names. Google Sheets, OneNote, it wasn't cutting it. It wasn't capturing all the information that we needed. We needed a tool that was built for homelessness. Oh, I didn't realize that this makes noise. I'm so sorry. That's just the video. So Outreach Grid was built alongside nonprofit and government agencies. From day one, Outreach Grid was built from the ground up. Every line of code was coded between myself and my co-founders and my engineers subsequently. And our company is dedicated to the mission of ending homelessness. We have built this institutional knowledge over 7 years now to build a platform that everyone can use. Frontline workers can collect data at the point of work that allows them to do the work, provide services in the field, and then have that information collected when the service is rendered, much like a point of care or point of sale, where when you transact a cup of coffee at a coffee shop, you're also logging in that the coffee was made into a machine. That's what Outreach Grid allows you to do for homelessness services. Outreach Grid was also built for regional coordination. So the more service agencies that are on board, the more users that are on board coordinating information, the stronger the platform is, because we're capturing data about an individual who's receiving services, who's receiving our help from first contact all the way through to housing. And these are some of the pictures from our time doing work in North Orange County. The video on top is when the Hope Center was launched and Governor Newsom came down for the grand opening. We highlighted what the app does, and I'll talk about that in a bit. We also were, these are also some of the pictures that were covered in the local news about how we use Outreach Grid to find beds and services for people experiencing homelessness. So I'll try to cover as much as I can with the time given. In Outreach Grid, we have encampment tools. This is used by outreach specialists, by public safety officers, by code enforcement folks to log encampments and track their statuses. So you use your phone's geolocation services to put a pin on a map and keep track of its progress as you do work upon it. This is battle tested in the North Orange County with the Public Safety Collaborative and the Hope Center in the city of Riverside and also city of San Antonio, where it's being used actively. With encampment tools, you can track encounters that you've made at that location, different hazards, which outreach worker visited this location and when, what status it was, were there any hazards that were observed, all of those things you can note in the app itself and keep track of so that other service workers who are going to visit this location, they know what to expect because this information is shared between agencies. You can also track clients who were encountered at this location, so you have a list of clients who are associated to this encampment. We also have client management tools, and this is used by everyone on the platform, outreach specialists, public safety officers, shelter operators, housing navigators, housing operators, and it's used very actively in North Orange County with the Hope Center and again, city of Riverside and city of San Antonio, where you can collect data in accordance to the HUD data standards about the client's race and ethnicity, their name, their gender, and this is in accordance to the HMIS data standards as recent as the 2024 data standards. And then at the end, you can have the client sign their signature on release of information waivers, which are translated, which have different version of them for different translations. In client management tools, much like with encampment tools, you can keep track of a client about their statuses, whether certain assessments were done for that individual, when, and whether there was an encounter made for them. In Outreach Grid, you can also do custom client assessments. So when new questions come in or a new assessment is developed by your community and is specific to your community, we help you digitize that, or you can create it yourself inside of Outreach Grid, and then your outreach workers and your frontline staff can fill it out. One such example is the shelter preference form in North Orange County, where we have real-time shelter bed management. The system rolled out. There's a very specific form that they care about, which is the shelter preference form. It includes questions like what kind of bed do you prefer, and what city you're affiliated to make sure that if you're a client receiving services in North Orange County, that you are from North Orange County cities. And the system generates dynamic tags to show you that these are the characteristics about this individual. So it's very easy to see, this person is a veteran, this person prefers a bottom bunk, this person is from North Orange County cities. You can also create referrals on behalf of a client and keep track of those and tag other users in the system, and they'll receive a notification in their email and in their app. You can track locations about the person, and at that location that you rendered some service or you gave some like a hygiene kit to them. So you can keep track of physical resources that you gave to the person. We also have incident management tools. Again, I'm breezing through this really quickly and rapid fire kind of thing. Incident management tools, where if you are not doing a full intake about an individual, you're just noting that there is an incident of homelessness here, there's a client or there's an encampment, you can note that information in an incident management tool, collect some rudimentary information.
Join the meeting.
Put a pin on a map about where it was seen, and then it can be put into a dispatch queue for later assignment and then later assessment by the appropriate people. So you didn't get a chance to do it, but you want to put in that there was something here, and someone who is more appropriate or someone who's on staff right now, they can go respond to it. And then ultimately you can link that incident to a client so that that client has a record of incidences associated to them and a record of homelessness established for them. Now we're getting into the shelter bed management and reservation system. And I want to dwell a little bit about this system because it was created in-house based on our experience as a team in Outreach Grid. So every person in the Outreach Grid team, they go on outreaches. Every person on our team shadows someone on a ride along. They go shadow someone at an emergency shelter or some permanent supportive housing service, so that when we build this platform, we're building very empathetically. We know that these are the pain points that they experience when they're out in the field. And the shelter bed management system was incepted from that very experience. I was out on an outreach. We were on the side of a freeway under an overpass, and it was super hot. It was like 80, 90 degrees. And I was with an outreach worker who was working with a client, and that client said, okay, yeah, I'm ready. It took a long time. This wasn't the first time that outreach worker was working with this individual, but they said, I'm ready now to go into an emergency shelter, which is a huge accomplishment. As you guys know, that to get to that moment of lucidity, that moment of I'm ready to move on to the next stage, I'm ready to get help and receive help. It's very important to capitalize on it right then and there. So I watched the outreach worker, like, what does he do after he sees he has this moment? And so he starts calling shelters, and he starts texting people, and he trying to reach out to the shelter operators and see, hey, is there a bed available for this person? Is there a bed available for this person? And we're out there waiting for like an hour to get a response. And ultimately there's no bed. But in order to even know that there's no bed or that there's no response, we had to wait an hour before we gave up. And that was a lost opportunity. And that was a missed opportunity of lucidity for this individual. And so I thought, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous notion that this should exist in 2020, which is when I experienced this. We should make a tool for it. So we created the shelter bed management and reservation tool so that outreach specialists, public safety officers, and shelter operators can work together to secure a reservation for someone who's ready to go into a shelter. And how it works is the requester fills out the shelter preference form to assess the client's needs. So whether they're part of the North Orange County cities, whether they prefer a top bunk, bottom bunk, are they coming in as a couple? Do they require, are they coming in with pets? And then you can see the reservable inventories of different shelters and navigation centers, and the types of beds and the number of beds of those types that are available. And then you can request a reservation. The system itself tells you whether this is a match by the client's characteristics and the characteristics of the available beds. And it'll tell you that this is a match or this is not a match. And then once that request is sent to the shelter operator would either accept it or reject it. And then if they accept it, they give you a check-in time, much like booking.com. They tell you this is the time that you can bring in your client, and then we can process them at this time, during this time. And then the original requester receives a notification by email, phone, and also the web platform about that check-in time. They bring that client in, they transport that client in, and then upon arrival, the shelter operator assigns them to a particular bed. And each bed is a thing that we track inside of Outreach Grid so that we know, okay, Alina has been staying in bed 42, has been staying at the shelter for X number of days, and that when they change to a different bed or exit from the shelter, that's also noted in the system. And every bed has a QR code attached to it. And so when we were just starting to roll out the system, we were fortunate enough to get into a navigation center in Buena Park and put in QR codes on every single bed, so that when shelter operators are are checking on the beds, they can scan the QR code and then it brings up the page, and then they can keep it updated. And so how the system works is the outreach worker checks for the availability of the best matched beds. They make a request for the reservation. The shelter operator confirms the request and then gives them a check-in time. And then when the client is brought into the shelter, they are assigned to a bed, and then they keep checking the beds to keep updating the inventory. And that feeds back in real time to the rest of the outreach workers and public safety officers who are trying to get people into the next step. We also have housing tools. Housing tools allow us to grab entries from Craigslist or Zillow or Redfin about rental properties and drop them into Outreach Grid to list. There's a 2-bedroom apartment, there's a 1-bedroom apartment available here. They accept VASH vouchers or EFSP FEMA vouchers. And you can keep track of those. We have a portal for property managers to sign in and also list their properties and manage their applications through this process, through the platform itself as well. We also have contributors and applicant portals. The role of this is contributors are able to create an incident in Outreach Grid, and that feeds into the dispatch queue that can then be assigned to someone to respond to. So there's an incident of homelessness. This is primarily designed for librarians or people who in an auxiliary way might deal with people experiencing homelessness. And then we also have an applicants portal. This is for people experiencing homelessness themselves. They have an account in Outreach Grid, and then they can submit a service request, which also puts themselves in that same dispatch queue. Inside of contributors app, we also have the point in time count. So some communities, when they start working with us, they start as the point in time count. So they use our app to conduct their point in time count. And we've trained thousands of volunteers and collected thousands of surveys. And we've done that with all of these communities: City of San Antonio, Tarrant County, City of Missoula in Montana, Genesee County, Mecklenburg, Pinellas, State of Rhode Island, and Sacramento County. Oh yes, so, oops, okay. I mentioned that when we first launched the shelter bed management and reservation system, we launched it in July of 2020 with the Buena Park Navigation Center. And we were at the grand opening. There was a great ribbon cutting. It was a great thing. But prior to its opening and prior to it starting to render services, we were able to go in and on every single bed, put a QR code onto each shelter bed so that it can be tracked on the Outreach Grid platform. And so earlier in the story, I said that it took an hour just to find out that a bed wasn't available for the individual. Well, when we rolled out the shelter bed management and reservation system, it took quantifiably about, on average, 43 minutes for an outreach worker to make a request for a bed and then for them to receive a response from the shelter operator. And to us, that still wasn't a good amount of time. 43 minutes on average is still a pretty crummy experience. So with tweaks to the user experience, with additional training that the Outreach Grid team conducted on premise with the staff at Buena Park, we were able to drive that time to, on average, less than 10 minutes to make a request and then receive a response about whether or not they can bring the client in. That makes it very easy for outreach workers to either move on to the next client or bring that client into the shelter. Okay, I promise to be quick. Last but not least, dispatch services. So Sue mentioned that we in North Orange County, the Hope Center was launched in 2022. And at the Hope Center, we have Outreach Grid has dispatch services where this is kind of like a evolution of Outreach Grid. So for communities, the first step is to get real-time communication and data set up, that you're collecting data at the point of work, that you're coordinating data between agencies, that everyone is doing things at the point of work, right? They're doing the services and they're collecting data at the point of work. And then once that kind of cadence and system is established in the community, that's when dispatch services comes in. But I want to highlight that once a community has established that kind of data coordination on the Outreach Grid platform, dispatch services is the next step. And so how dispatch services work, this is an effort between the Hope Center and also the North Orange County Public Safety Collaborative, where all non-emergency homelessness related 911 calls, okay, that's a mouthful, all non-emergency homelessness related 911 calls are no longer going to the police for them to respond. Now these calls are going routed to the Hope Center where Outreach Grid staff is stationed. They receive the calls, they assess it for priority, and then they dispatch it to the to Hope Center staff, outreach workers, and other case managers who are part of the Hope Center to respond to them in real time. So we receive the call, we assess it, and then we send it out to the caseworkers. And the caseworkers also are equipped with Outreach Grid, but they're also equipped with vans to travel out to the location and respond to them. And so how it works is it works a lot like Uber, where you have a place requiring service. It's logged in the system. It's put into a queue where it's prioritized by the Outreach Grid dispatch manager, who handles the priority and assignment to the appropriate responding unit. The responding unit can view their current incident, and they can review the queue of things that they are assigned to, and then they can also respond to that location. And on the receiving end, we can see that they're going to location or that they're currently responding to something else, and it'll take, X amount of time to get there. This program, this initiative started in March of 2023 with the city of Fullerton, and it's now expanded to the city of Brea, Buena Park, and Stanton in North Orange County. Again, this is a picture of the grand opening. The governor, Gavin Newsom, came to see the effort and see what we've been doing. These are the Hope Center vans. Kelly is in this picture on the bottom with Chief Dunn from City of Fullerton, now at the City of Torrance, where these are the vans that outreach workers take to respond to those non-emergency homelessness related 911 calls. And so we receive those 911 calls, we receive hotline calls from the community, and we also receive incidents created in Outreach Grid. And all of this is prioritized and assigned by Outreach Grid staff at the Hope Center, and then it gets dispatched out to the case managers who are in these vans responding to the incident. Hope Center itself is also a place where they're localizing different outreach services. So it's not just Hope Center staff responding to them. It's also City of Buena Park. It's also other outreach workers who are part of this network of services who are responding to these incidents. And what weaves them all together is this Outreach Grid dispatch manager and this common agreed upon prioritization, and that this is the data that's going to be collected when they go out. And just a few highlights of what we've been doing. So in the first 2 months, this is what we discovered: 30% of the calls that came in, the 911 calls that we came in, 30% of the 911 calls were non-emergency homelessness related. And so in terms of the volume of calls, 30% of 911 calls were routed over to the Hope Center. In August of 2023, we received 405 incoming calls in that month, and 258 of them required some form of dispatch. So about 60% required some form of dispatch, required some form of response. The average resolution time is about 74 minutes. And that's from receiving the call to resolving it. So the team has reached the location and has worked with the client, and that whole resolution time was 74 minutes. In the best month in August, we had 7 street to housing exit, and that means they're going from street to some form of housing. And I think you guys know how monumental that task is, to go from the street to a house, not skipping shelter. Some of them did go to in shelter, but they were able to do that in a month. And the outcomes of some data from October 2023 of how the calls ended up, what are the results of the calls? 36% of the calls ended up in some form of shelter request or reservation. So the people who called in about an individual or the individual themselves needing help called in, that request ended, 36% of them ended up with a shelter request or shelter reservation. So 36% of them who are connected in real time with the right services want to move on to the next step. Another 36% of them agreed to receive case management. 9% of them was housing services. 7% was housing documentation, and 12% was other. So I think what it shows is that when you strike while the iron is hot, you're going to get good results. And I think that's it. That's it for Outreach Grid. That's all I could cover today. Hopefully, if that's piqued your interest, we can come back for a more in-depth presentation with time for Q&A and more time to go into each of those features. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you, Tiffany. We know that's the Reader's Digest version, but Bronson put in the chat, though, that all this information will be posted. Is that correct, Ronson?
Yeah, but if there's any more information, Sue and Tiffany, about stats, I think some of the interest from one of our supervisors' office was the stats on your homelessness census and kind of the funding, the startup funding. If you can send some of that our way, that'd be great. I'll probably just follow up anyways with y'all offline after this. There's just so much to unpack here that it warrants like a separate conversation.
So we know that there was a lot of information that just kind of flew by you, but are there any questions, real short questions for Tiffany and Sue? Can you let me have the screen back, Bronson? I can't see anybody.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so let's see, Catherine. Go ahead.
I know I'm here. What I noticed was in your fast breeze through, you're only doing this on Apple phones?
Yes. So currently it's only available on iOS. Hopefully by February, we'll have the Android app out. We are actively developing on that. So that's something I guess I didn't get to say. Our team is actively...
Only because I'm one of those oddball people that only has, Android. So I'm curious as if I would be able to use it. If they had it, I would be able to use it.
Yes. So yes, by February, we're hoping to push that out. Our team is actively building and receiving feedback from users, from our communities, and we're always adding new features into them. Based on our experience, shadowing them, doing ride-alongs with them, hearing their feedback. And one of the big feedback is, I've got an Android phone. What do I do? And our response is, okay, we'll build it.
Okay, I have one other question. What doesn't work real fast? Okay, what are you finding that's like the pitfalls of what you need to fix here? What's missing in the connections?
What's missing in the connections?
Yeah.
So I think...
Where do you struggle, maybe?
Where do I struggle, or where do I think
where do the case managers that are using this platform struggle with the connection to other services? Because that's always the huge problem of connecting one agency to another, to another, to another.
Yes. So that's where training comes in. So I think it's difficult when you're introducing a new process into a group or in any agency, right? You're asking them to adopt a new way of doing things. You're asking them to think about homelessness maybe a little differently, to collect data at the point of work as opposed to doing the service and then going back into your office and writing down the notes into like a Google spreadsheet, right? That kind of process change takes a long time. I'll be honest about that. And then being open to working with other agencies, that's also that I see that as more of a leadership agreeing to work together kind of thing. You guys have South Bay City's Council of Governments. You guys are here working together. That's rare in and of itself. That you have all these leaders and services who are working together already. That's rare. I think that's something to highlight and to capitalize on. That you do have a cooperation and you do have a partnership.
Thank you. Ronson, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll probably take a lot of my questions offline and probably set up a separate meeting with you, Tiffany and Sue. But just really quickly, a couple of pertinent questions I think for the journal audience is that one of the things that's unique about the way you're doing it is you are sharing information with first responders. So it looks like there's some law enforcement sharing information. So does that mean your platform is AB 210 compliant? And all that information is then being shared across these different service agencies, including public law enforcement?
So, I think Sue.
Oh, sorry, Tiffany. We can get into that offline too, but yes, the information that the officers have on the Outreach Grid app is really information that they're pushing into, not extracting. So in all, and I say from 2017, because that's when the collaborative was created, to now, there has been 0 arrests related to the use of the app or during the census or any of the time that we've had Outreach Grid and the use of this technology tool deployed to our officers and our civilian outreach workers. So I think that's probably key. Well, the officers that we have and the chiefs really is the chief of police are our coordinating advisory board, and it comes from top down to the departments that this is not a law enforcement tool. This is a tool to assist people with various resources to have them off the streets, especially those experiencing street homelessness.
Right. And then how does this integrate with the Orange County HMIS system? Does it talk at all to it, or is this separate from that system?
So that's also in process. We've been working with the continuum of care here in Orange County and requesting that the integration of Outreach Grid with Clarity, which is the HMIS that we use here, to be integrated so that, again, information is pushed into Clarity and nothing is distracted. And it's not the technology or technological lack of experience or expertise, because it's been done by Outreach Grid in the city of San Antonio through their HMIS. That has been integrated. And Tiffany could go into more details, but they discovered 33% of the folks that were on Outreach Grid were not in San Antonio's HMIS.
Yeah, so that when we were able to implement it, we have an MOU with the city of San Antonio and with their HMIS. We also do this. We also started doing this in DC with another agency to push that kind of information from Outreach Grid into HMIS so that you're not doing double entry. Again, the technical hurdle of it, the technical challenge of building out the integration has already been done. You just need the cooperation. That's why I'm highlighting, Catherine had a question about that. Cooperation of agencies who will allow you to do that, to share that information. And, at the end of the day, that kind of data sharing is in the interest of the person experiencing homelessness, right? The faster you can get that person into the coordinated entry waitlist system, whatever it is, the better. And to reduce that kind of work on the outreach workers' part so that instead of going into the office and doing double data entry, they can continue doing their work out in the field, and then the data entry is handled for them by OG, by Outreach Grid.
Yeah, thanks. I think this is definitely something that looks interesting from a kind of a HMIS overlay perspective, because there is information you're capturing that's not being captured at HMIS right now, which is kind of all that preference information, which I think is great that you're capturing. But yeah,
Bronson,
thanks.
if I could interject just real quickly, the homeless census when we did in the spring is not HUD mandated. This is something we wanted to do because there was just really no data on what was going on in our streets. So of course, this, the point in time is HUD mandated, so you could be funded. We had none of that burden or that what requirement. It was something we just wanted to know what was really going on, and we didn't have a by name registry. And how could you do something if you're not going to measure it to know that your efforts are working? And that was the only way to do it, having a by name registry so that you could use that as your list of measuring the efforts and to see what is working and what is not working.
Yeah.
And really what's promising.
Yeah, so you don't even know, you're speaking my language. So yeah, I definitely have we have a lot of cities that are interested in doing their own census for sure, for the exact very same reason. So yeah, so let's talk more. This is so interesting.
You're right. And Marcel, I hope your law enforcement question got answered. I saw it in the chat.
Well, I think what I'm understanding is this isn't implemented in Southern California yet. It seems as though it's Orange County or it's not implemented in LA County. Is that correct at this point?
And very specifically, it's North Orange County. It's not all of Orange County.
All right. So for us at this point, it's not something we would necessarily share, but it's something we can look forward to seeing maybe here in the future as a tool, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anissa, you had a question?
Yes, and this might be getting too much in the weeds, but I was just curious as far as I saw that you were working with like community-based organizations. Do they contract you for the data? Like, how does that work as far as you sending the data to the organizations and what they do with that?
So
great question. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead,
real
Sue.
quick on that is that the collaborative supports community-based organizations through a request for proposal, a competitive bid. So 60% of all of our funding, a little bit more than 60% of all of our funding goes to community-based organizations working in those 3 focus areas. And then specifically, if there are any community-based organizations that are utilizing Outreach Grid, and really who I could think of right now is Hope Center. So the Hope Center works in tandem with the cities and, of course, with Outreach Grid.
Okay, so I hope most of your questions were answered, but I'm going to ask Sue and Tiffany to put their contact information in the chat so that you guys can do some offline conversations and question and answer stuff, if that's okay. And so we're going to move on again. And thank you guys, because that was great information about what North Orange County is doing. Hopefully, a lot of other counties will start jumping on board with this kind of stuff. We're going to move on to LA County housing portfolio and master leasing. And I believe we have Elizabeth and Jennifer.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Liz Benishai, and I am with the LA County Homeless Initiative. Just want to thank you so much for having us today. We're really excited to speak to you today about the centralized master leasing pilot that the HI is implementing jointly with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. And we really think this effort offers a great opportunity to increase permanent housing placements for folks experiencing homelessness in your communities, and a really great opportunity for collaboration between HI, LAHSA, the COG, and all of the cities in the South Bay. I know that we are all really eager to speed up our progress in moving people off of the streets and into safe, affordable housing with the appropriate supportive services. And we think this master leasing innovation is a great way for all of our agencies and jurisdictions to get involved. So We will be going over kind of the different facets of this pilot today and are happy to answer questions and follow up with everyone afterwards to dig in further if you are interested. So before I turn it over to my colleagues, if we could go to the next slide, just wanted to do a really quick intro to the Homeless Initiative. I know many of you interact regularly with our team at the county, but for those who are less familiar, the Homeless Initiative is the central coordinating body for LA County's efforts to expand and enhance services for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. And our office was created by the Board of Supervisors back in 2015 with the charge of creating a strategic plan to address homelessness. Once that plan was created, the voters approved Measure H, which, as many of you know, is the sales tax, which funds the implementation of the strategic plan to deliver services and support housing for people exiting homelessness. Our office is located within the county's chief executive office, and we do administer funding, including Measure H and our state HAP funds, as well as some other funding sources to address housing and homelessness issues. We administer that funding through county departments and LAHSA, the Los Angeles Community Development Authority, and our community-based service providers. Back in 2022, the Board of Supervisors approved a new framework, and you'll hear a little bit more about the connection to the framework later. But that framework is our updated strategic plan, which really emphasizes the increase of placements in permanent housing. So very much connected to the work that we'll be talking about here today. I'm going to hand it off to Jennifer Lee, who will tell you a little bit about HIP. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. We're really excited, as Liz said, to talk about the master leasing program and our unit acquisition program in partnership with the managed care plans under the Homeless and Housing Incentive Program funding. As you can see, it's already been almost a year, but LA Care and HealthNet have approved HIP funding for LA County. 55.6 million of this funding will be used by our offices to fund unit acquisition programs and strategies for a goal of bringing in 1,900 new units by the end of 2024. So the funds are really here to secure apartments on the private rental market and lease them directly to people experiencing homelessness who have tenant-based vouchers within their hands. The state really finds this an important part of their process in recognizing that, housing does increase positive health outcomes of their members. And studies, aligned with the managed care plans reflect broader cost savings for healthcare when investments in housing are made. So that went out of order. So one of our unit acquisition strategies is master leasing. We are excited to partner with LAHSA to administer our centralized master lease program. Under this program, LAHSA will be leasing entire buildings and individual apartments known as scattered site, and then they will sublease these units to people experiencing homelessness. So these units can be used and offer permanent housing for individuals and families. So this really allows us to strengthen our partnership with LAHSA to support more people moving into housing faster and increasing the use of tenant-based vouchers and subsidies. I think everyone heard Haley's earlier slide or her earlier presentation when, she was sharing some of the challenges that Path and Harbor Interfaith are facing as organizations. We have more tenant-based vouchers, resources, and subsidies coming into LA and the South Bay areas, but there are still challenges related to housing people experiencing homelessness, such as a competitive and tight rental market, tenant screening criteria that may prevent some of our participants from accessing housing, and sometimes the timeline to approve units or voucher holders with the housing authority can take a little while for that application process to happen. So, we see a lot of the benefits with master leasing, including more units for the system, It does help eliminate landlord bias because under the master lease strategy, LASA would actually be the one handling those screening criterias and removing those from our unit access. And, you know, there isn't going to be documentation required, so it will allow for immediate move-ins. And it really optimizes the use of all of our federal, state, and local voucher resources and permanent housing resources. It also meets, you know, a lot of the feedback we have heard from property owners within the community that work with our programs, and hopefully their feedback will continue to bring in new owners. You know, a lot of the feedback they have shared is, you know, some of the bureaucracy in dealing with tenant-based vouchers, perceived risk in renting to tenants with a poor eviction or rental history. So really maximizing, you know, all of the stakeholder feedback within this process. And I am happy to pass this along to Thomas Wong from LASA to walk through some of the steps on their agency side.
Thank you, Jennifer, and greetings, folks. My name is Thomas Wong. I'm the Associate Director of Unit Acquisitions over at LASA. I just want to thank you know, the HI and just really the county for really just making this you know, a tremendous opportunity for our continuum. As Jennifer already kind of made mention, LASA's master leasing is not a program. And this is really a strategy to work alongside our programs, our permanent housing programs, to really expedite the permanent housing placement of folks who've traditionally and conventionally been screened out entirely from our rental market. LASA has been working concertedly and closely, and I can't take all the I would say the accolades and just the applause for the strategy, but most certainly through Chris Freed, who I believe is on this call of Freedom Consulting. Her work alongside with the HIs and the managed care plans have really kind of, again, helped to actualize what we are naming government-backed master leasing. So this is a unit acquisition strategy, and what you're seeing here right now is where at the top left of this this mapping or this chart, the County of Los Angeles is fully financially backing these master lease agreements. Master lease agreements are being entered into by LASA with property owners, and that master lease agreement allows LASA to assume the role of owner for these buildings. And that is a very important aspect as LASA has been working with HUD to essentially be assigned that responsibility under 24 CFR Part 982.4. I know that's a mouthful, but it essentially allows us to perform as owner under the Housing Choice Voucher Program so that Housing Choice Vouchers, Section 8 vouchers can be essentially utilized within LASA's master leasing. So in this, again, this diagram right here, the public housing authorities therefore play a huge paramount role in this process. They support us by really going out to these properties, helping to establish rental comps, making sure that these units are meeting housing quality standards in accordance to HUD regulations. And upon doing so, that allows LASA to go ahead and negotiate and enter into these lease agreements with the ownership. LASA is also contracting with a fiscal agent, and this is an entity, a third-party entity that manages and maintains all of the financial aspects of these, you know, of these properties, from collecting rent, from paying the owner the master lease rent, to essentially paying out vendors for any type of repairs and maintenance or property management related items. So having that kind of force in this process is really important to ensure the sustainability and the fiscal management and oversight of this entire operation at scale. Additionally, we have contracted with also a property management entity, and it's important that this entity is separate from service providers. We wanted to make sure that there is clear distinction of roles where we're not essentially having one entity doing all roles under one shop, really kind of creating that conflict within the operations. The property manager is really there to support the physical plant of the building, really ensuring that the leasing process with each of the tenants runs smoothly, it's enforced, and essentially any types of repairs and maintenance, of course, regularly and routine, maintained. Our service providers are those that we've traditionally contracted with. These are folks who are operating time-limited subsidy, or what we call, that's our LA County continuum of care kind of nomenclature for rapid rehousing. And so these are folks who are operationalizing permanent housing programs. And now we're essentially having them on site at these buildings, doing the work alongside with these residents and working towards stabilization. So it's a network, and it's a connective, I would say, little ecosystem of a strategy where we are ultimately supporting our permanent housing programs, again, to expedite permanent housing placements. Next slide, please. So part of this effort is really to really market out to the community and let them know, like, hey, master leasing, big bold letters and words to our property management companies, to owners and developers, to say that, hey, this is what the program entails. And I believe we have a copy of this flyer so you can distribute out, to your landlord networks. But when they receive this flyer, there is a link, a button that they can click, and it will direct them to a referral form. And that's item number 1 here. And upon submitting that referral form, it'll ask, essentially some questions about the property. What does it entail? How many units? Things of that nature. They'll click submit, and when they do so, that formally prompts LASA to reach out to that property owner, describe what our master leasing essentially arrangement looks like, and how we really kind of broker together all these different aspects, like the housing authority and our time-limited subsidy programs, to make this work, right? Thereafter, we will schedule an initial site visit internally at LASA and conduct a property evaluation. That evaluation goes towards the housing authorities. And that's just a deeper evaluation of the property, making sure that, for instance, is there office space? Are there fire alarm or emergency systems on site, or security systems like cameras, or even a place for where a security guard can be stationed? Is there an elevator? Is it ADA accessible? Things of that nature. And we'll submit that to the housing authority, which is the formal request for their inspections and for their work to essentially comp out, or essentially determine the rent reasonable rate for the units of that building. LASA will receive that amount, and from that amount, we will negotiate with that property owner a rental amount for the asset or for the project. And upon acceptance by the owner of that amount, LASA will initiate the contracting process by providing a template master lease agreement and move towards execution of that contract, so that we could then make it an available resource for the community. At the moment, LASA is only considering entire buildings, but entire buildings that are newly built or essentially imminent of temporary C of O or C of O. So that could include extensively renovated buildings, where C of O would also have to be provided, and that's a certificate of occupancy by the building department. In the future, LASA will be considering scattered site units for master leasing, but that is something of a work in process. We still want to receive referrals of landlords who are interested, and with that only in their portfolio, really to kind of queue things up for us in the future once we have scattered site master leasing operationalized and rolling. Next slide, please. So here is also just a descriptor of how we've really kind of prioritized these units for a particular community. One, it is to say that we first go to a regional preference. And the regional preference that we are essentially associating ourselves in this context of master leasing for is by the SPA, the service planning area. So where these master lease units occur is where we prioritize a Group A and Group B. Here in Group A, you'll see that those are programs associated with any type of encampment resolution effort. And Group B are all other regional homeless housing programs, which could be interim housing, housing navigation, outreach type programs. And it is a 50-50 split. So if in this example, if LAHSA found, for instance, within SPA 8 in the South Bay, a 20-unit building, LAHSA would essentially send out a notification to all providers of the SPA 8 region. And we would say 10 units of that 20-unit building will go to Group A, and the other 10 units will go to Group B. We do want to make sure that folks who are or programs that are being funded through your city are absolutely included, and they are included as part of this effort. And just in case, I'm going to be putting in the chat a formal mailing list where you yourselves or your network of providers can go ahead and submit to be a part of our mailing list for when opportunities do arise, they can partake. There are special carve-outs and considerations for prioritization for lossless master leasing. I won't go too deep into this, but it will mainly because each of this and each inquiry that comes to us is quite unique and requires nuanced conversations and further discussion and planning. But there is a special consideration for where an investment of losses master leasing by a particular funder, or in this case, a city, where they could receive priority for a master lease site. Or two, if an agency or perhaps a city were able to even present a opportunity for a master lease building and saying, hey, here's a building, here's an owner. We think this is a great connection. And if that connection becomes fruitful to where we do actually move forward with closing that deal, then first opportunity for occupancy of that opportunity is provided to that agency or city. So those are the special nuances and considerations. And I believe that's it for myself, and I'll hand it back to Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. So how do we pay for all of this? I think is always a huge question, right? Like I see we have a question from Catherine real quick.
There's two questions in the chat for Thomas. One of them is this like share or collaborative housing but without roommates, and can you have a roommate or a spouse in them?
Yeah, great question. So this is all unit typologies. So we are looking at what we are calling SRO pluses. So these are the new type of SRO units that are popping up in LA County. They are typically marketed as student dormitory units. So these are rooms with their own private bathrooms, but they share like a common kitchen space. We're seeing a bunch of those brand new construction type of buildings popping up all over the place. Those are going to be performing as SROs. We take a look at bedroom units. We take a look at singles, all of it.
Okay, and there's one other question. How many master leases will LAHSA enter into, or what's the plan? And does LAHSA already have the staff in place to facilitate master leasing? Or are you still hiring for this?
We do have staff in place, and we are also still hiring. And that's really because we're trying to reach a goal first of 800 units. So we've already just launched at, I would say, in the middle of November, our first batch of master leases, which was a total of 5 properties and 106 units. We're working towards full occupancy of all of those units, I would say, in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and then there's another question. Has HUD provided a template for the master lease that's permissible per the CFR for federal vouchers?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Okay, has HUD provided a template for master lease that's permissible per the CFR for federal vouchers?
Yes, yes.
That's a great question. You know what, if Jennifer could just finish the rest of the presentation, we will take all the questions at the end, if you don't mind, just so we can get through the whole thing.
Thanks, everybody. I know there's a lot of interest in this program. But we have a couple more slides just to talk about, how is master leasing funded and participation. But, operating a program like master leasing does take a lot of funding and support from different initiatives out there. We know we have the 8 CHIP dollars that really allowed us to get this program started and to get really creative with master leasing and piloting it. So the 8 CHIP dollars cover what we call backfill costs. So these are costs that are traditionally associated with operating a building. So property maintenance, property management fees, security at the sites, utilities, damages, landscaping, all of those additional costs that we are taking on. So that as an incentive so that owners want to participate in this program and they don't have to take care of those costs on their own anymore. And LASA, in partnership with their fiscal agent and property management company, will be handling these responsibilities. But that HUD dollars don't cover rent or services or supportive services at sites. So, we are very reliant on Measure H funding to help us cover time-limited subsidies at the sites for rental assistance for tenants moving in, flexible housing subsidy pool, shallow subsidies as possible rental, as well as supportive services at the site. So this includes, time-limited subsidies, rapid rehousing, the ICMS services that are connected to FHSP and federal vouchers, as well as some of the, things that we always know that we need when we're moving into new units, such as security deposits for the sites. But we also want to be mindful that our federal vouchers and federal partners are very important for this program, as long-term rental assistance is an important part of, sustaining master leasing so that we can ensure that owners are receiving their rent at the HUD FMR standard that they're always looking for. But also remembering that, Measure H is necessary to support the intensive case management services that often get partnered with the federal vouchers that are within our system. And then how to partner with our program. I wanted to check if our HI staff member, Tanya, wanted to share this part of our presentation.
Happy to. Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Tanya Ortiz, also with the Homeless Initiative. I'm going to wrap us up really quickly with this last slide on how to partner with us and with LASA so that we can get to questions. So, just as been mentioned a few times now, the goal of this work is to house as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, and to increase the utilization of federal vouchers and all sorts of subsidies. And so some of the ways that you all can partner with us to scale up this work is to support and conduct outreach to property owners and developers within the community. So really being an extension of our marketing efforts and getting out to the communities, because you all know, the people who live in your community more than we do. Share the marketing flyer. So the one that Thomas shared with you all earlier, I think Jennifer has a link that she's going to go ahead and drop in the chat so that you all can start distributing that to your communities as well. Third, commit to identifying one building, even just one building in any one of the cities within your council of government would be super helpful to set an example and to really show people that this is something that can work if everyone comes together. And really our hope is that, if one building works and someone does step forward and is able to do that, then other cities will follow suit and we can really scale this. And then lastly, invite us, CEO HI and LASA, to present at your business department districts, your bids, to any other department leaders, really anyone that would like to hear more about the program. We'd be happy to share. And I think that is it for me. I'm going to pass it back to our last slide.
Thanks, Tanya. And we just want to point out that the picture in the slide is one of our first master leasing buildings in partnership with LASA. We were really excited that we were able to move folks in from Pathway Home initiatives into this building. It's a beautiful building in unincorporated LA County. where, in partnership with LASA and St. Joseph Center, we were able to move in 19 folks from encampment resolution efforts that they oversaw. And St. Joseph Center is the on-site service provider at this place. So, it really does align with a lot of the work that is happening in our community. And we would love to partner with all of our cities in making sure we can bring in more permanent housing so we can continue to operate and have places for people to call home. But based on that, I will stop sharing so we can see everyone and get all the questions answered.
And maybe, Thomas, you can answer Julia's question in the chat that we jumped away from in order to finish the presentation about the whether HUD has provided a template for the master lease that is permissible for the CFR or for federal vouchers.
Absolutely. So they have not provided a particular template, but they've reviewed LASA's master lease, and where we've incorporated through HUD TA their assistance, particular language to comply with that CFR language for housing choice voucher programs. It's been reviewed by HUD. It has also been sent out to councils of the local housing authorities, the largest one in LA County, which is HACLA and LACDA. And so making sure that everything is congruent and all partners are aware and understanding of our efforts. So overall, there's alignment. Yes.
Just wanted to add that Julia and Kimberly Mack from Hawthorne, they're both with the housing authorities locally here, Torrance and Hawthorne respectively. So I'm glad you guys could join us for this important discussion.
Thank you. Lori, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that presentation. Master leasing is absolutely critical if we're going to move forward with removing the barriers for our voucher holders. I'm just a little disappointed that it's taken so long to get to this point, because I've been hearing about lease up and things for a long time. And the fact that you're only looking at complete buildings is a huge limitation to the amazing impact this program could have. So I hope moving forward, they'll look at buildings that are willing to open up, a portion of their building. That's really important. And I just had one question: to protect landlords and to incentivize them, if they do offer their building, will the landlords have an opportunity or will they have access to keep an eye on their building to make sure that there's no damage and their property is being maintained? Because if they don't have access to that, they might be a little hesitant to sign up for the program.
Yeah, those are great comments. So just for now, meaning now being the next month or two, we're looking at completed buildings or new buildings. We are working even now, preparing for just exactly what you described, one, scattered site units or even blocks of units within a particular building for us to go ahead and master lease. We're just not yet ready there with an actual version of a master lease for that particular circumstance, but that's absolutely part of our strategic intention for us to consider. The second thing about the repairs and maintenance piece with the landlord, there is language and nuance where the landlord can essentially, or the actual property owner can actually, visit the site and look at, their asset, making sure, whatever they need to be. But I will also say that there is strong intention to say that LASA is making sure that we are the actual owner in terms of performance, and also the overseer of the property management aspects of the entire property. We are held obligated to maintain and ensure that all the property is not just operational, but meets habitability standards, housing quality standards, that we readily and quickly fix any type of property damages, whether it's holes in the walls or shattered glass, even a leaky faucet or toilet, and even getting to the point where it's preventative in nature, where we're even looking at, for instance, this is very nuanced, but we're even looking at shower curtains versus shower doors, right? And installing shower doors so that we can be preventative for any type of water damage or warpage for floorboards or even molding. So we're really going in deep in terms of what we are going to be responsible for. And really, this is a unique opportunity even for the private landlord sector or real estate sector, where this is government backed, right? And it's multi-yeared, and it's coming from a single entity rather than multiple housing providers to sustain the performance or their budgets for their assets. So this is definitely of benefit to them. We think it's a mutual type of arrangement. A lot of it has to do about the educational piece about what is master leasing to this population and what are the true costs to do so and do that sustainably. But yes, it is absolutely an example of public and private partnership.
Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. And I'm just curious if there's any other cities in the country that have done this type program that we can use to motivate landlords to have a confidence level, because this is about relationships and trust.
I will defer that to Miss Chris Freed here. She is all over the nation talking about master leasing. I don't know the particular CLCs or cities, Chris, that you've been touching base on.
There is plenty of master leasing is not a new concept. Let's just be real. As a former provider, right, I did master leasing back in 2009, so this isn't new, and it's been going on since the continuum of care started in shelter plus care, and you can go back into the late 80s and see many versions of master leasing that happened. What makes this unique is that it's government-backed master leasing, and this is the first in the country. This is the only one in the country that's actually being backed. There are similar efforts in terms of they will come forward and say, like, for example, in San Francisco. So San Francisco has a very large master lease program where the city of San Francisco actually goes in, negotiates the terms, works with the landlords, but then they hand off the building and all the liabilities to the nonprofit partner. In this space, none of those liabilities are being handed off to the nonprofit partner. The only thing that's being asked of the nonprofit partner is to do the thing that they do best, which is service and to get people from the streets into those units, and that's it. I think the other thing that makes this incredibly unique, and I think they talked about this a lot, is the matching process. There is no matching process. It's truly first come, first serve based on the priorities that Thomas talked about. So we're not holding these units. We're not holding these spaces for any period of time. It truly is. You've got 2 days to fill this building, and if you don't with your folks, we're going to fill it with other people because we need to get this filled. These are being paid for, and we can't just let them sit there. I just wanted to touch briefly, if it's okay, on a couple of other things that were talked about. One, the voucher standard. So the federal government is very well aware of what we're doing. They've been part of this process the entire time. They're watching this, and they're doing things like working on room for rent type standards so that we can really start to look at how can we actually encourage, right? There's a cost associated with doing master leasing. Master leasing, I want to be really clear. I didn't hear this earlier on, but it's not meant to be a savings, cost savings strategy. It's not. There's a lot of costs associated with doing master leasing when you're doing an entire building. Where you start to save costs, and Lori, this is a huge, right? I wrote a concept paper on this 4 years ago. My thought process is buildings are great, but if we had enough empty buildings just sitting there, we wouldn't be in this predicament as it is. We need to use and have access to every single unit we can get our hand on. And so we are headed there. We have to roll out something right now to make sure, right? We've opened, to Thomas's point, 3 buildings. And there's a lot of things that have come up. They were like, oh, dang, we weren't ready for that, or we weren't thinking about that. So we have to roll this out and get it. I won't say perfect. I'm a believer. And if we sit and wait for perfection, to your point, Lori, we'll be waiting 6 years and nothing's going to be perfect. We have to go, but we have to fly and learn as we go and make the corrections. And taking on scattered site is next, but we've got to get this right, or at least a little bit right, so that we're moving in the right direction and we don't piss landlords off. And then the last thing I would just say, our goal is going to be to encourage landlords to stay off property as much as possible. We don't want them walking in and talking about particular units. But that's why we have a property management company. And we have a vested interest in ensuring that their building stays intact and in really great working order. And there are things that building owners are still going to be responsible for. So, for example, the roof, the foundation, some of the major systems of that building. So they will have access. I won't say that we're not going to allow them on. They absolutely will have access. But you don't want them walking on the property and making and picking and doing all of those things. We need to be able to operate and to be able to move this forward, but with the assurance that we care very much about their asset as well, which is why we brought in a fiscal agent, and LAWSA is not doing the direct financial management of this. and also why we brought in a property management firm that is not associated, right? They have a contract with LASA, but they are their own entity that's responsible for maintaining that building in the same way that they would be responsible for maintaining yours or mine. So I just wanted to really highlight those things. I think Thomas and Jennifer and Liz did a really great job, and Tanya did a really great job. But I think that there are a lot of, right, this is the model right now, or lots of folks across the country. And I cannot myself just say how thrilled I am with the county for stepping up and taking these liabilities. And LASA's willingness to actually enter into these direct agreements, because the risk adversity across most places across the country is what's prevented this. And if we can show that it works, I think a lot of other places across the country will start following suit. Sorry.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Chris. Mary Agnes.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this idea as well. And I know Ronson knows about this. You know, one of our concerns, we're in the Inglewood Lenox area, and we have a lot of buildings going up without any parking. So these big apartment buildings that are being built right now. And we're concerned, you know, because of, you know, limited street parking. But I'm wondering if it would be a possibility. I know at least one owner who might be open to this idea. Is that a possibility of buildings that don't have any parking available on site?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think we already have like a couple. Actually, our first one was without parking. They do have bike racks, which is absolutely like beneficial. We do request that prior to executing master lease agreements, and as well as some other amenities to at least allow the fundamental operations on site. But yeah, 100%. We'll take that.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to see the marketing flyer, you know, the specifications that we can show prospective landlords. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
And then Ronson, you'll be the last one, and you can actually just segue right into your South Bay COG homeless services.
Thank you, council member. First, I just want to say, wow, what an all-star team that is doing this. Thomas, Liz, Chris, and Jennifer. Yeah, you guys rock. Jennifer, I think you used to be with Path Lisa, right?
I did.
Yeah, I think I
with,
remember you
HL.
at a coalition meeting a few years back presenting about Path Lisa. So now
we
we're
used to be at these quite a bit.
yeah, so I think this is like Path Lisa on version 2.0, right? I think that was one of the questions, like how is this different than Brilliant Corners and Path Lisa? I don't know if you can just quickly elaborate on that.
Yeah, what is quintessentially different is that those programs are landlord incentive programs, but this is master leasing. This is what it's not a program. It's literally where LASA is taking on the obligations of owner and the responsibilities of owner. So when, for instance, when the RFTA comes in from the housing authority, LASA is signing as owner under that. You know, in traditional, like conventional fashion of the landlord incentive programs, landlords would maybe sign a program agreement or a agreement that is of the program, right? But this is an actual contractual agreement where they are obligated to the owner, and there are penalties and actual obligations and you know, financial obligations that occur, and legal ramifications as well. So it is a very different arrangement. It requires a lot of lawyers on our end, a lot of lawyers on their end. You know, so it's quite robust and comprehensive, this master leasing.
Just to add to that, Ronson, so just to kind of underline, you know, in the master leasing efforts, the tenants are entering into leases or subleases with LASA, right? So for Brilliant Corners or Path Lease Up or RPSS, those programs, the tenant is still entering into leases with the building owner, and instead of the owner entering into a lease with LASA. So that's probably one of the biggest differences. But I do want to underline that those other programs do still exist as well, and we're still investing in those programs. The HIP funds that Jennifer talked about, some of those are going to the Housing for Health program with Brilliant Corners to expand that, because we know it's a proven model that works really well. And we have sort of a menu of options for landlords who want to get involved and make their properties available for this purpose. And we think, different types of programs work better for different landlords. And the beauty of this is that, we have a lot of different offerings available. So we're working on, really clearly articulating the differences between the programs so that landlords can make the best choice for them. And all of them will contribute to increasing permanent housing for people experiencing homelessness.
Great. Yeah, I just want to let everyone know that even prior to this meeting, we're very excited about this. Keenan, our housing locator, has already had a couple meetings with Thomas and Chris, and we've even had a walkthrough on a location that's outside of our area, but we think it would benefit the program. So we're going to share this on our social media. But yeah, if the city's on here and community organizations, if you guys can blast this out to your networks as well, that would be great. Let's try and reach as many landlords as possible. And then on that note, Thomas and Keenan, I just don't want to lose this thought. We did come across a property manager that owns hundreds of units throughout Los Angeles. They are someone that can bring units to the table potentially. And Keenan, correct me if I'm misspeaking. But since they are a property manager, I would imagine that they would want to be the property managers of any potential master leases of any of the units that they are running. Is that a possibility? Or
It
was
is a
that
possibility. Yeah, it is a possibility. I mean, it ultimately depends on the particular asset in question. I think it becomes a little bit more difficult if it's an entire building, but if it's that is essentially the premise of what we're considering as our scattered site rollout, where we wouldn't essentially do the whole, I would say, gamut of servicing for that particular unit. So we wouldn't have our property management. We wouldn't, take on the day-to-day operations. But we would just essentially, for instance, ensure guaranteed rent for over a multi-year period in term, right?
Yeah.
And we may be supporting with some of the property damage costs. But again, this is all kind of still in the ether of just kind of strategizing and development. So nothing yet formally written in paper and in stone. But we've considered that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they have they know of an investor looking to invest in more triple link type of properties for development in our spa. And but since they are a property management company in of itself, I would think they would want to property manage whatever development comes about that. So it's good to know that is a potential opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, there's different arrangements to go about it. I won't bore folks with the details, but there's, the arrangement of which I described. There are other arrangements that we can really kind of explore, which we have with our first initial batch. So yeah, there are options.
Well, awesome. Well, this is really innovative stuff. Hope to learn more about this as this goes on. But thank you so much, guys, for coming along and kicking off our new year with a bang.
Sounds great. Thank you all. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. We appreciate what you guys are doing for the homeless population. It's a good job. So, Ronson, did you have anything else for South Bay City's Council Homeless Services?
Yeah. I mean, I guess just segueing on since HealthNet was mentioned on the last presentation with the HIP program. HealthNet has come to the rescue of Redondo Beach. Actually, I just wanted to announce that they did commit $768,000 to expand the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter. Their commitment came just in time. Really big kudos to them, HealthNet. We engaged with them only a couple months ago, and they toured the homeless court and the pallet shelter. And within a weekend, they committed because Redondo Beach had a deadline they had to face to buy the pallets, or else the prices would double. And so they knew of our deadline and was able to get the ball rolling and send a commitment letter. And so that really got Redondo Beach over the hump. And so as far as I understand, Redondo Beach has gone out and purchased additional units, and they will be expanding the pallet shelter from 25 to 20 units. So we were very happy to be a part of that. and make that happen. Joy, did you want to say anything? I see you nodding your head.
No, I just appreciate the COG support and everything. And we're just so happy that we were able to meet the deadline and looking forward to getting the pallet shelters online.
Awesome. Yeah. We do need to talk about operation costs though. And so I know Mitchell mentioned in the city council meeting that there might be some county funds. So we need to just suss that out a little bit. But yeah, that could be a discussion for another time. Let's see. So a couple of other updates on the homeless count. So if you don't know, it's coming up really quickly, January 24th. Sign up. We need volunteers for your respective cities. Get other people to sign up. Good news is we're using the same app this year, so no new app this year. First time in 2 years that we're using the same app, so that's great. Oh, Eric, you're here. Great. Did you want to say something about the homeless count? I'll share some of the info. This is for the training for site coordinators, so deployment site coordinators specifically. There's a bunch of virtual training, and there's also our in-person training is Spa 8. Sorry, Eric, if I stole your thunder, but it's at the Atlantic Constituent Service Center. Again, this is for the site coordinators. So if you're not a site coordinator, don't just ignore this. But yeah, Eric, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, no, thank you, Ronson. I was just gonna jump on to make this announcement. I'm here working on the homeless count stuff, but yeah, basically what you announced. Please share out the link. I'm gonna attach it here at the chat. I'll encourage folks to sign up. For Spa 8, as you mentioned, if you're a coordinator, I know there's a couple of you here on this call. I sent out an email yesterday afternoon with all the information, and yes, there will be an in-person training for coordinators only in Spa 8 in Lenox on Tuesday, January 9th from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And that'll also be an opportunity for coordinators to pick up your materials with the flashlights, the vest, and everything that you need. If you can't make it that day, if you're a coordinator, don't worry. We can arrange offline. I can drop off the materials for you. But yeah, just encourage folks. The trainings are already out for volunteers as well, but that's a video. I can send the link to Ronson as well so you can share with everyone. And volunteers are able to view the video that will guide them through the app step by step on their own. But yeah, thank you, Ronson. So yeah, the count for Spy will be Wednesday, January 24th.
Great, Eric. And then at this point, you have all the site coordinators and site locations.
I have all site coordinators. The only location I'm still working on locking down is El Segundo. I'm in contact with Julissa Smith from El Segundo PD, and I'm hoping I can lock that down this week. But yeah, all coordinators are set for Spy and all sites except for El Segundo.
Okay, great, good to hear. All right, let's see. Just some other information that I wanted to share with you all. Keenan helped me put together. There's a notice of funding availability. This is kind of an extension of a previous encampment resolution funding. This is for cities in counties outside the COC. At least they're prioritizing cities and counties outside the COC for funding for any encampment resolution cleanup work that cities would like to do. Usually it's kind of adjacent to, it's on the right of way of Caltrans lands, but I think it doesn't have to be in this instance. So I just want to let cities know that there is funding if you would like to, if there's an encampment in your city and you would like some funding to help clear that out or clean it up or provide services to, let us know and maybe we can help with this. NOFA. So that's that. And then another thing that's going on is there is a $40,000 grant available, or you can get up to a $40,000 grant is how I understand it if you're interested in building ADU on your property. We're also going to try to get this information out to folks as well. It's for low income. So I think the income is like less than $80,000 a year, and you can qualify for this grant. So it might be good for, if you want to build an ADU and then lease out to someone that's experiencing homelessness for additional income. This would be a win-win situation. And so that's available. We'll send that out as well. And then lastly, There is, this was from, yeah, there is, oh, sorry. I think I don't have the information up, but there is, oh, here it is. Yeah, so just a reminder, the rent relief program is still going on in LA County. LA City is exempt from this. I'm not sure if LA City currently has their own rent relief program right now, but this is for LA County only. It's for small mom and pop landlords, but you can get up to $30,000 in rental arrears. The deadline is the 12th. So we're going to try to get the word out about this as well. But this is the website where you can go to apply for this that would provide relief for both the landlord and the tenant. So those are just some of the things going on the beginning of the year. And that's my updates. Ronnie?
Thank you. Ronson will probably put these in the chat, so any of the information you'll be able to recover it. So thanks for the updates. Jackie Baccarat, how about Council of Governments updates?
Okay, thank you very much. What a great meeting. Our homeless staff really always knocks it out of the park, so thank you so much. What the big thing I want to talk about, which I'm going to be a broken record for you, is the General Assembly. Now that we've hit 2024, our biggest meeting of the year is going to be on March 28th. It's going to be at the Carson Community Center, and it's like our own little conference. We get over 300 people there, though, and it is free. So we hope you'll attend. The subject matter this time is artificial intelligence, friend or foe for the South Bay. We have a keynote speaker confirmed, and that's Ted Lieu, who is an expert in this and is going to talk about cybersecurity. And we're just delighted that he can come. We have another confirmation from one of the leaders in the field in city government, Micah Godet, who is actually from Maricopa County in Arizona. And we're firming up more speakers as we speak. We're also going to be getting an exhibit hall, which we hope will be very, very vibrant and give you opportunities to see the benefits of AI, how you can use it in your work, and also the things you ought to be watching out for. So we're hot and heavy getting this ready. We hope you can register right now on the website, on our website. We hope you'll register. We hope you'll plan to attend. It's a fun day, and that's our major project. Our board meetings, as you know, are the fourth Thursday of the month, and you're invited to come to our board meeting. And any month that we have them, and they'll be every month except for March, when we have our General Assembly, which is it's actually 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock. So I don't know if I forgot anything else. I wanted to make sure Ronson told you about all the great news with the pallet shelters and everything, but you just heard all of that, so that's great. I hope you all had a great holiday, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jackie. We appreciate you. We're running a little long, but I'll take any quick announcements if anybody has any. I know I don't. But if anybody has a quick announcement, just throw them out there. Lori?
Yeah, hi. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see you all. Really, I am retired. Sad to report that Miriam Hall has resigned from the Affordable Living for the Aging with her home sharing program. I was actually scheduled to meet with her this month. I'm going to meet with whoever's taking over for that. What's so important is that seniors continue to be one of the fastest growing demographics of people experiencing homelessness. And I'm going to be working on senior homelessness prevention. So I hope to report back, because that is housing that already exists and we need to get better at tapping into it. So I'm not really gone. I'll keep you up to date on that. So, but and I'll let you know who the new person handling the program is. So good to see everybody. Thanks.
Yeah, we're glad you haven't retired yet, Lori. Anybody else with quick announcements? No, I don't see any hands. Okay, this was an absolute great first meeting of the year. I really want to thank North Orange County for coming on board, sharing their stuff with us. And Lassa, thanks a lot, because this is a great program. You can tell how good it is when Ronson just gets really excited. And you know it's really good. So we're really happy that everybody came on board. We wish you all a happy new year, and mark your calendars for the next meeting, which will be 6 March, and we'll make sure that the announcements get on. And if you haven't checked your calendar yet, May 1st, July 3rd, September 4th, and then the last one is November 6th. Okay, so with that, I thank you all for attending and being here. Have a continued great new year, and God bless you all. See you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you. Hi, Tony.